This is the secret squadron of bills. Why some currencies are superheroes and others aren't. Meet Captain Dollar, Lady Euro, Master Yen, and the tragic Zimbabwe dollar, once mighty, now powerless. But who gave these heroes their powers? And why do villains like inflation and trust always return for revenge? The final twist will leave you speechless. Why does Captain Dollar rule the world, while Zimbabwe dollar became toilet paper? Picture a world stage where superheroes line up. Captain Dollar stands tall, armor polished, commanding 60% of global foreign reserves and nearly 90% of all forex trades each day. That's not a comic exaggeration. Over $7 trillion US dollars change hands daily across the planet. The dollar is everywhere, in oil, in trade deals, in your iPhone's price tag. Even when two countries trade with each other, they often use dollars, not their own money. But why does this one bill command armies of believers? Now step into Zimbabwe in the 2000s. Their currency, once stronger than the US dollar in the early 1980s, becomes the butt of global jokes. By 2008, inflation hit 79.6 billion% per month. Yes, billion. The Reserve Bank printed $100 trillion notes that couldn't even buy a loaf of bread. Imagine needing a suitcase of cash for bus fare. Teachers were paid in stacks of worthless bills. Shops refused their own currency. Eventually, people abandoned it altogether, switching to US dollars and South African rand just to survive. But here's the twist. The Zimbabwe dollar wasn't born weak. Back in 1980, at independence, one Zimbabwe dollar equaled $1.47 US dollars. It was a proud, strong currency. What happened? Corruption, reckless printing of money, collapsing farms, and a government at war with economic reality. Compare that to Captain Dollar, which has survived wars, depressions, and even Nixon cutting its gold anchor in 1971. The US dollar keeps being trusted, not because it's invincible, but because everyone, from oil kings in Saudi Arabia to tech giants in Silicon Valley, still believes in its power. So here's the real question. Why does trust crown one bill king while stripping another into a joke? And if gold no longer powers these superheroes, what secret fountain of strength keeps them alive? Because once we step into the vaults of history, we'll discover that money really did have a magical source of power. And one shocking decision in 1971 changed everything forever. What if I told you money used to be powered by gold? Imagine every superhero needing a glowing fountain to recharge their powers. For money, that fountain was gold. For centuries, paper bills were just promises. This note is worth this much gold sitting in a vault. The US dollar, for example, was once backed by $35 per ounce of gold. If you walked into a bank with dollars, you could actually trade them for gold coins. This system was called the gold standard. It kept currencies disciplined. Governments couldn't just print money recklessly because they needed the gold to back it up. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, this stability helped global trade explode. Britain's pound sterling reigned as the world's reserve currency in the 1800s, and every other nation linked their money to it. It was like Lady Pound holding the captain's shield before Captain Dollar was even born. But gold had limits. During wars, countries often cheated. In World War I, nations suspended the gold standard to print money and pay soldiers. Afterward, currencies wobbled like tired superheroes trying to recover. Then came World War II, and economies collapsed again. To fix the chaos, 44 nations met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire in 1944. Their solution? Tie every currency to the US dollar and tie the dollar to gold. That made the dollar the new superhero leader. For a while, it worked. From 1944 to 1971, dollars were as good as gold. But America couldn't resist overspending. The Vietnam War and social programs drained US reserves. By the late 1960s, countries like France didn't trust America's promise anymore. In fact, President Charles de Gaulle demanded to swap billions of US dollars for real gold and even sent a French warship to New York to collect it. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon shocked the world. He closed the gold window. From that moment, dollars were no longer tied to gold. The magical fountain was shut off. Money became fiat currency, valuable only because governments said so and people believed it. But here's the haunting question. If money's power now comes only from trust, what happens when that trust vanishes? Because lurking in the shadows, two villains, inflation and the invisible ghost called trust, are waiting to ambush every superhero currency. Who's the real villain, inflation or the invisible ghost called trust? Picture this, you go to the bakery in 1923 Germany with a basket of cash, not to buy bread, but to carry the money itself. That's how insane hyperinflation became in the Weimar Republic. Prices doubled every few days. By the end of 1923, $1 US equaled 4.2 trillion German marks. People burned stacks of banknotes for firewood because it was cheaper than buying coal. The villain here was inflation, when too much money chases too few goods. But the darker villain is quieter. It's the ghost called trust. Money only works if people believe it's worth something. Once that belief cracks, no law, no printing press, no army can hold it together. Argentina is a prime example. Since declaring independence in 1816, Argentina has defaulted on its debt 9 times. Every time, trust evaporated and the Argentine peso collapsed. In 1989, inflation hit 3,000% a year. Prices tripled in just a month. Imagine your salary becoming worthless before you could even spend it. Even mighty America faced this villain. In the 1970s, after Nixon ended the gold standard, inflation soared. By 1980, US inflation peaked at 14.8%. That's when Federal Reserve Chair Paul Volcker stepped in, raising interest rates to an eye-popping 20%. Painful, yes. But that move restored trust in the dollar, and it cemented Captain Dollar's status as leader of the global squadron. Switzerland, meanwhile, became the opposite story. The Swiss franc is nicknamed a safe haven currency. Why? Because Switzerland avoided wars, kept inflation low, rarely above 2%, and built a reputation for political stability. Investors trusted it so much that during crises, money floods into Swiss banks, even when returns are tiny. So which villain is stronger, inflation or trust? Inflation can destroy savings overnight, but when trust dies, even a currency with low inflation collapses because nobody wants to hold it anymore. And this leads to an even bigger mystery. If currencies are superheroes, what happens when they form alliances, rivalries, and even sidekick roles? Because next we enter the League of Super Currencies, where Captain Dollar, Lady Euro, and Master Yen fight for dominance, while smaller sidekicks quietly survive in their shadows. Inside the League of Super Currencies, friends, rivals, and secret sidekicks. Imagine a secret council where the strongest heroes gather. At the head of the table sits Captain Dollar, the world's undisputed leader. Around him, Lady Euro, elegant but plagued by family drama, and Master Yen, quiet yet powerful. But in the shadows stand the sidekicks, Belize, Brunei, and others, currencies that can't survive alone, forever tied to their masters. Let's start with Captain Dollar. Today, about 60% of global foreign exchange reserves are held in US dollars. Roughly 90% of global forex trades involve the dollar on one side. This didn't happen by accident. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement crowned the dollar king by tying it to gold, while all other currencies tied themselves to the dollar. Then in the 1970s, after Nixon cut the gold link, the US made a historic deal with Saudi Arabia. Oil would be sold only in dollars. This petrodollar pact guaranteed global demand for Captain Dollar's power. Every nation needed dollars just to keep the lights on. Now enter Lady Euro. She was born in 1999, replacing marks, francs, liras, and more. By 2008, the Eurozone held 19 countries, and the euro became the second most used currency in the world. But Lady Euro carries heavy baggage. During the 2009 Greek debt crisis, one member nearly pulled the whole union down. Greece's debt hit 180% of GDP. Protests raged, and investors questioned if the euro could survive. Unlike the dollar, Lady Euro has to balance 19 different economies. Germany's discipline, Italy's struggles, Spain's youth unemployment, making her power unpredictable. Meanwhile, Master Yen stays quiet but steady. Japan may have battled deflation for decades, but the yen remains a global safe haven. During financial crises, money runs to the yen, even when Japan's economy is barely growing. Why? Because trust in Japan's political stability, tech exports, and disciplined monetary policies keep Master Yen's cape clean. And then, the sidekicks. Take Brunei's dollar, pegged 1 to Singapore's. Or Belize's dollar, pegged 2, 1 to the US dollar. These sidekicks borrow their strength directly from the heroes. But here's the risk. If their master stumbles, they fall with them. But if these are the heroes, we must ask, what happens when someone tries to unite them all into a single unstoppable force? Could the world unite under one money superhero, or would it create the ultimate villain? Picture this: no exchange booths at airports, no fluctuating rates, no confusion. One currency for the entire planet. Sounds like peace, right? But history whispers that this dream could quickly turn into a nightmare. Let's start with the closest experiment we have, the euro. When it launched in 1999, it felt revolutionary. Suddenly, countries as different as Germany, France, Italy, and Spain were using the same money. Travelers loved it. Businesses celebrated. By the mid-2000s, the euro became the second most powerful currency on Earth, covering more than 340 million people. But then came 2009, and Greece set the whole house on fire. Its national debt ballooned to 350 billion euros, equal to 180% of GDP. Investors panicked. Riots erupted in Athens. Other countries in the euro family, Portugal, Ireland, Spain, were also struggling. Here's the catch. Unlike the US, where Washington can print dollars freely, euro countries can't just fix problems on their own. They gave up control of their monetary policy to the European Central Bank. So when Greece was drowning, Germany had to help bail them out, sparking tension, resentment, and the near collapse of the euro itself. This shows the risk of one global currency. Imagine tying every nation, from the US to Zimbabwe, under one central bank. A crisis in one corner of the world could ripple everywhere overnight. If Argentina defaulted, if Venezuela's hyperinflation flared, or if China's economy stumbled, the entire globe would feel the shock instantly. But here's the paradox. Some leaders still dream about it. Economists have floated the idea of a world dollar, or even returning to gold-backed money. Yet think about what that would mean, giving up national power. Money isn't just paper, it's sovereignty, it's identity. Would America ever let Beijing or Brussels dictate its money supply? Would oil-rich Saudi Arabia hand over its leverage? Unlikely. The truth is, currencies survive only as long as people believe in them. That's the invisible glue. When trust evaporates, like in Zimbabwe or Weimar Germany, currencies collapse, no matter what system they belong to. And that's why, instead of one global superhero, we're more likely to see a never-ending battle of rival heroes, each with their own flaws and secret deals. And here's the part no one tells you. The biggest danger isn't too many currencies. The biggest danger is losing faith in money itself. Once people stop believing, no superhero cape can save it. So now you've met the squadron of bills. Captain Dollar, ruling the skies with 90% of global trades. Lady Euro, elegant yet fragile. Master Yen, quiet but unshakable. And the fallen hero, Zimbabwe Dollar, once proud, reduced to notes worth less than bread. But here's the chilling truth. Every currency has the same hidden enemy. Not inflation, not interest rates. Something scarier, the ghost of trust. Once trust vanishes, even the strongest hero falls from the sky. History proves it. Weimar Germany, Argentina, Venezuela. Tomorrow, it could be anywhere. And the secret that few ever hear? The next great currency collapse may already be unfolding, hidden in plain sight. Which one will be the first to lose its cape? Thanks for watching. If these money scandals blew your mind, you'll love our next videos. Hit like, smash that subscribe button, and turn on the bell so you never miss the shocking truths hiding in your wallet.